Let's talk about an interesting way to deal with our fears and anxieties, something called paradoxical intention. It's like when you learn to laugh at yourself when things get tough. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist from Austria, had a pretty rough time during World War II in concentration camps. But from that hardship, he developed something called logotherapy, a way to find meaning in life even in difficult times. Frankl had this patient, a young doctor, who was terrified of sweating too much around people. It made him even more nervous, which made him sweat even more. Frankl had this interesting idea: instead of running away from the fear, face it directly. This method, paradoxical intention, is pretty unusual, but it worked for his patient and many others. In essence, paradoxical intention challenges us to confront our fears rather than avoid them. It's like saying, "Okay, fear, come at me." It might sound strange, but it can be powerful. Let's explore how it works and why it's worth considering. It's no secret that we tend to avoid things that scare us. Fear can feel overwhelming, sometimes even more than the things causing it. Viktor Frankl, a psychologist, saw that this running away from fear often leads to more anxiety. It's like a cycle that never ends. Think about it. You get nervous about something, then you start worrying about why you're so nervous, which makes you even more nervous. It's like being stuck in a loop of anxiety. Frankl noticed that people with phobias not only try to avoid their fears, but also fight against them, which makes it worse. Take social anxiety, for example. If you get anxious speaking in public, you might avoid it altogether. But when you can't avoid it, the fear gets even stronger. So, how do we break this cycle? When we're faced with situations that make us anxious, it's natural to try and talk ourselves out of it. Fear, that primal emotion, often proves more daunting than the circumstances that birth it. Yet, according to Viktor Frankl, this instinctual flight from fear serves as the catalyst for what he terms anxiety neurosis, a labyrinth of perpetual dread. Mark Manson, in his insightful book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, aptly coins this phenomenon as the feedback loop from hell. Sound familiar? The cycle of anxiety feeds on itself, spiraling into a whirlwind of self-doubt and trepidation. In the labyrinth of anticipatory anxiety, individuals attempt to rationalize their fears away. Logically, most social encounters pose no mortal threat, yet the specter of impending doom persists. We might tell ourselves that the situation isn't really that bad, but even with that logic, the fear sticks around. Viktor Frankl called this anticipatory anxiety. It's when we're scared not of the situation itself, but of the fear it brings. For instance, imagine having to give a presentation at work. You worry about stumbling over your words or looking silly in front of your colleagues. The more you try to fight this fear, the stronger it seems to get. Frankl explained that fighting against the fear just adds more pressure, making things worse. In his seminal work, The Unheard Cry for Meaning, Frankl elucidates how resistance fuels the flames of anxiety, perpetuating a vicious cycle of distress. As individuals become increasingly fixated on quelling their fears, they inadvertently fan its flames, heightening their sense of dread and discomfort. Thus, the cycle perpetuates itself, ensnaring them in an inescapable labyrinth of despair. For Frank, the neurotic who learns to laugh at himself may be on the way to self-management, perhaps to cure. Ever heard of paradoxical intention? It's a fancy term for a simple idea: facing your fears head-on. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist, found that trying to avoid what scares us only makes things worse. Paradoxical intention flips the script. Instead of running from fear, we embrace it. Anticipatory anxiety, with its suffocating grip on the human psyche, often stems from a phenomenon known as hyperintention, wherein individuals become hyper-focused on achieving or preventing a particular outcome. Take insomnia, for example. The harder we try to fall asleep, the more awake we feel. Frankl's solution? Embrace the opposite. Instead of desperately wanting sleep, try wanting to stay awake. It sounds weird, but it works. It is a radical departure from traditional therapeutic approaches, urging individuals to confront their fears head-on rather than retreat into the safety of avoidance. By embracing paradoxical intention, individuals can disrupt the vicious cycle of anxiety and reclaim agency over their lives. Frankl used this method with a patient who was terrified of sweating too much. Instead of hiding it, the patient would deliberately show it off. Soon enough, the fear faded away. Through the application of paradoxical intention, the physician embarked on a journey of self-discovery, confronting his fears with courage and determination. In doing so, he liberated himself from the shackles of his phobia, emerging stronger and more resilient than ever before. So paradoxical intention might seem like a strange concept at first. Why would anyone want to confront what they fear most? Well, Viktor Frankl believed that by facing our fears with humor and detachment, we can actually weaken their hold over us. Imagine being able to laugh at your fears instead of letting them control you. That's what paradoxical intention is all about. Instead of fighting against our anxieties, we embrace them in a way that seems counterintuitive, but can be incredibly freeing. Paradoxical intention, as Frankl so astutely observes, demands a fundamental shift in perspective, a willingness to detach ourselves from our fears and anxieties and to approach them with a sense of humor and detachment. It is a recognition of our innate capacity for resilience and self-mastery, a testament to the indomitable spirit that resides within each and every one of us. Through the lens of paradoxical intention, we are invited to re-examine our relationship with fear and anxiety, to strip away the layers of illusion and self-deception that shroud our true essence. It is a journey of self-discovery and self-transcendence, a voyage into the uncharted territories of the human soul. By using it, we can break free from the cycle of fear and anxiety that holds us back. So, why not give it a try? Thank you for joining us on this journey to understanding and overcoming our fears.